Hi everyone. Uh, this session is more about how each one of us can keep ourselves healthy and to some extent maybe I can call it balanced. Uh, and in the next 1 hour or maybe 90 minutes, I will take you through some of the practices which I myself do and whatever I have learned from my experiences in life. Especially last year when I myself went through a lot of tragedies at my home, and that is how I did a lot of research. I studied a lot, and then I also met a lot of people, attended some conferences, and so on. And then the whatever I present in the next 60 to 90 minutes is a result of very factual data. It is backed with n number of scientific studies and so on. And I'm sure that this will be helpful for everyone who is part of this call, as well as maybe your families as well. Um, these are really tough times, and I know that all of us have some or the other issues in their families, especially due to COVID. Either we ourselves are not well, or somebody in our families are not well, or somebody in our extended family is not well. And some of us have also kind of lost lives during this entire process. So this is really sad. Uh, in this session, we will discuss how we can keep balance in our lives. Because many times we seek happiness, but happiness is like a constant dopamine. I mean, there is no end to it. So happiness doesn't have a benchmark. I mean, if you are happy today with something, you as a human nature, you will earn for something else tomorrow, and so on. So that it's a constant on kind of a thing. So uh, let's not seek happiness, but let's seek balance in life, because balance will lead to happiness. uh, if that is the kind of mantra, then I'm sure that a lot of us and a lot of people there out in the world who are just seeking and running after happiness, and it's a tough thing to find unless you are balanced. So I have a presentation which is done in say last 1-2 hours. So not the best of presentations, but yeah, I'm sure that it will drive the message. Let me share that screen. Thanks to Guru to help me create this presentation in a very short notice. Okay, can you
Yeah, Manoj, you're sharing your screen.
Can you see the screen?
Yeah, Manoj.
Okay. So Ayushka is a Sanskrit word which means life. And today we will discuss everything about life. Not only human life, but life in this planet, and which also affects humans. A lot of things which we are witnessing today and in the last year around COVID. These are not like unfortunate, or I would say these are not things like they which are happening out of nowhere. They were bound to happen. There are multiple reasons of that. Capitalism, consumerism, the entire loss of balance in nature, uh, and the wrong priorities in human life uh, are leading to these kind of COVID situations. And if you don't get it right, then you will see more and more of these situations in the future as well. So this session might help each one of us to also maybe, even if we are able to improve our habits by 10 to 15%, you will see drastic changes in yourself, as well as maybe whoever you guys can influence with this session. So life is beautiful. We are very fortunate to have this life, and human is the only mammal or living being in the planet who can live a holistic life, because every other living being doesn't have all the potential which human being has. I mean, humans are more of a possibility rather than just a being. Uh, they have the right minds. The capacity in the minds is very different. They can feel. They are emotional. They can understand and so on. So, in a spiritual sense, human is the only living being which is karma yogi. Everyone else is just Fali yogi. So everyone else is just a consumer of results. Human being is the only living being which can actually influence results. So hence, humans are very important. Now, start with why, something which is very close to my heart. I try to use this in everything I do. Most of the times we are busy solving the what and how, and that is the reason of our suffering at work, in our lives, in our health, and so on. So if you are able to kind of answer your why, which is sometimes really tough to understand, your what and how are very easy to kind of tackle. So why do we suffer? And if we kind of keep it little more focused towards suffering in terms of health, so we should all know that why do we get these diseases? I mean, why do I have a sudden heart attack, or why do I get diabetes, or why do I get some kind of a cancer, or and then so on. And whatever we discuss in these slides may not be like applicable for 100% of the people, but I mean, there is nothing wrong in any of the facts. Sometimes people might say that, hey, the guy who is drinking every day and having all those wrong habits, he's having a fun of life, and he's really enjoying life. But I, who is kind of very disciplined and having all the good habits of life, I am suffering. So let's not be victims of our of exceptions. I mean, there would be some people who are not well, even if they are doing everything right, they are not well. But that is a very, very small exception. So let's not use that exception as a alibi that, okay, we also become like that. So that should not be the attitude. Why do we have diseases? Now, when we talk about doctors, and with all due respect to doctors, I mean, doctors are generally kind of tuned to the what and how. They many times they don't understand why, because human body is very complex, and even with all the scientific advancement we have today, we hardly understand less than 1% of the human body, and hence, I mean, doctors have a very limited knowledge in understanding the why behind any disease we are in. Doctors are generally treating consequences; they are not treating the root cause, and that is why it's like a vicious circle that this industry is going on, the healthcare industry, the doctors and the insurance, and there is no end to it. And there are a lot of vested interests also in the capitalist world to kind of do it that way. But as individuals, we should know the why and try to fix that why, so that we don't get into the what and how in the wrong direction. If you ask any doctor and say that, hey, what should I eat, and what should I do after some kind of a surgery or anything like that, most of the times they will say that, hey, you can start eating ice cream from tomorrow, and you can start eating chocolates from day after tomorrow. So doctors generally don't have a lot of knowledge about nutrition, and it's not their error. They're not taught. The data says that in the entire MBBS and MD curriculum, a doctor is taught less than 25 hours of subject in terms of nutrition, and that too is very, very superficial kind of a knowledge. So they don't really understand the importance of nutrition, mind, soul, and fitness in the entire medicine and the practice, except for 1 or 2 colleges which have started introducing these kind of curriculums. Now, this is something which each one of us will feel like, and each one of us is kind of tuned to these kind of things, that in our families as well, that okay, hey, I am now 45, I think I will start getting some cholesterol. Hey, I have started work and now I'm married and so on, so I should get some anxiety and some stress. I'm now 50, 55, I should start taking some BP tablets, because yeah, I mean, at the age of 50 you are bound to get high blood pressure. Okay, so I am again 40, 45, I should start getting some diabetes, and maybe I am 60s and I might get cancer. So we are generally pre-programmed that okay, these are the kind of diseases which we will have at different stages of our life cycle. um, but that's not really the fact, and we will discuss this why all this is myth. I mean, you can live very healthy 90 years, 100 years without having any of these diseases if you know how do you live your lifestyle. To reduce the monologue, I mean, please ask any questions. I'm not looking at any chat window, but somebody can open up and please ask me. We keep talking about this, that the expectancy rate has increased in the last few decades. Earlier it was, let's say, 40, 45. Now it is almost like 60, 65. So we are definitely living longer than our seniors, but we are not living healthy. So we are much sicker than what our previous generations were. And most of our diseases today, which we are suffering from, are lifestyle diseases. Most of them are man-made diseases. I mean, they did not happen because we acquired those diseases because of something. So, for example, if somebody meets an accident, now that's unfortunate, because I mean, there was none of your fault, and you met that accident, and now you are undergoing a surgery or whatever. But when you are getting a diabetes or cardiovascular disease, or maybe a high blood pressure and so on, that is not somebody else's mistake, that is your own mistake. It's completely artificially man-made diseases and errors which we have kind of induced in our body over a period of time without realizing that we are kind of inducing it. And suddenly they become so very tough to manage that you have no choices but to just run after doctors and so on. Other thing which we commonly see in our families as well as in our own self is that we try to have a self-fulfilling prophecy that, hey, I got diabetes not because I am wrong, but because it is hereditary. So we just label it like hereditary, or maybe some genetic issue, or maybe some family history. So people will say that, hey, I am high blood pressure because my father had high blood pressure. But I mean, those are all myths. There is nothing called genetic except for very, very few diseases. And that is very, very limited number. Even genetic diseases can be reversed to some extent with the right practice. May not be 100%, but to some extent. So let's not blame genes for our lifestyle diseases, which is what many times we do. Now, this is a very important slide that if we talk about, let's say, 30, 40 years back, or maybe 100 years back, we used to talk about famines and people dying of starvation, malnutrition, kwashiorkor, marasmus, and so on. That is not the case today, I mean, except for very few countries. So today, undernutrition is like 10% of the problem in the entire world. But many people are dying because of overnutrition, because we are eating more than what we should eat. And that's the epidemic which is going on and on and on. Partly because, again, tying it back with the consumerism, that you are fed constantly by marketers like me to do something which you actually should not be doing. And the same is being kind of picked up by our kids, because they don't understand these things. And by the time you understand these things, by the time you are mature enough to understand these things, you are in a trap, because you are so very habitual of those things that you are not able to identify what is wrong and what is right. So the biggest problem today when we talk about health issues is around overnutrition, especially in middle class and upper class or rich people. That's the biggest problem. Most of us are visiting doctors for different kinds of lifestyle diseases. I talked about those lifestyle diseases, but the good news is that each and every lifestyle disease is preventable. You can reverse it, and you can reverse it very easily within 1 year. So if you are suffering from diabetes, you can easily reverse diabetes within a year, and you will never ever require any doctor or any pills. Same is the case with heart diseases and so on. But you need to have a very, very strong resolve, a dog determination to do that. And once you do that, you will feel very, very good, and that will become the way of your life. These are some data points that how we are progressing as an economy, as a humanity. If you see in 1990s, 2010, we were mostly affected by the non-communicable diseases were increasing, and the communicable diseases were decreasing. Whereas non-communicable is partly your lifestyle diseases. If you remove COVID out of this equation, most of the diseases which we talk about today are non-communicable. Communicable diseases are very rare these days, especially in the developed countries. And here is what you see, how it is increasing in terms of the income group. So you see that higher the income group, you are seeing more and more issues, which is connecting back with our lifestyle habits. Now, this is another very stark and very disappointing data that our healthcare investments or expenditures are increasing in billions and trillions, whereas our investments into food, which is good food, are not increasing in that ratio. So we are over investing into the what and how, which is healthcare, and we are under investing into the why, which is your food and your nutrition and your soil, the nature, and so on. And then you can never fix these problems of life, including the COVID, etc., unless you fix this why, because you will symptomatically fix it today, it will reappear again sometimes tomorrow in some other form, and so on. So not a long-term solution. Now, we are all, a lot of us engineers here, and we generally take pride that engineers can build anything, any complex system, and so on. But I would say that the human system is the best art which is ever done by the Almighty. Nobody can even go near to what a human is. Very, very complex system. We don't even understand less than 1% of it, and I'm sure that we will not ever understand human body in the next few centuries, because that is where I mean, somebody else cannot understand it. Your body, the best understanding is you yourself. So you have to understand your body rather than somebody else understanding your body. So internalize and take the journey within rather than take the journey outside. So little philosophical, but I mean, we are all busy going outside. We are busy traveling to the external world, planning holidays, etc. But try to plan a holiday within your body. Try to understand your body, your soul, your mind, and so on. And that is when you will see that it's infinite, and I mean, you will take ages to kind of understand and kind of immerse into it. Now, a healthy body is we call it body, but it's more like body, mind, and soul. And that is when you achieve the balance. You really don't achieve happiness, because happiness is a derivative of balance. If you think it the reverse way, you will always feel problems. I mean, because happiness is something which is a myth. You don't achieve happiness. You achieve balance. So how do you balance your body, mind, and soul is something which each one of us should kind of try our best. Veena, all going well. Anything I should go slow, fast? Is it like too much of a hyperbole?
No, Manoj, it's going well.
Okay. Now, just to kind of bifurcate this diagram into slightly more granularity, what is a healthy lifestyle? First of all, try to understand your purpose. I mean, your purpose of life, not your purpose of work or salaries and so on. That why do you exist, and what are you here for? Now, these questions can become very, very tough to answer, and sometimes they become very, very spiritual as well. So I'm not saying that be obsessed about these things, but it's always good to understand some bit of your why, because that will then drive your values, your ethics, your hobbies, your habits, and so on. Indulge into physical activity, very, very important. Now we are all glued to our laptops, and the new age problems of trying to solve everything with artificial things, which is not which will not take humanity anywhere. I mean, it will be a vicious loop, and we will come back to the original lifestyles. But let's try to use let's try to have a very good balance between physical activity and the work which we do. So instead of work-life balance, try to do work-life integration, which will be more important. Nutrition plays a very important role, and most of my slides are focused upon nutrition. I'm not delving into stress and sleep and mental in this session. We will focus a lot on nutrition here. And then your good sleep, and how do you manage your stress, how do you manage your mental health, which is slightly different from your physical health. And we are human body is so very tough and resilient that despite giving it so much of pain every single second, so much of pressure, so much of garbage which we keep eating, or we keep eating from food or from environment, lot of stress which we keep digesting. So so try to think that human body is so very miraculous that you are kind of damaging it every single minute, but it is still able to rejuvenate the next minute. So that means there is something very, very powerful inside our body which we are not realizing. So try to realize the power of your own body. Very, very important. Once you know your body and the power of your body, I think all these things will become very, very easy for you to kind of handle. Some more data. Sorry, my slides are slightly hodgepodge because I did not get time. So some of these slides are misplaced here and there. Now, this is some data which is again an eye-opener that every 1 minute we are producing 7,600 tons of food, and we are consuming 5,100 tons of that food every single minute, and wasting this much, which is a disaster. And then in agriculture, we are using 278 tons of diesel, 6,800 joules of energy, and then fertilizers and water. Now, this is very important to understand that a lot of us don't understand the value of water, and how water balances the entire ecosystem, and how we are our knowledge about water is very, very minuscule. Sometimes we think that opening a tap and opening the tap when we are shaving for a few minutes is wasting a lot of water. Yes, it is wasting water, but that wastage is much less than the water wastage which goes in manufacturing one jeans, or maybe maybe producing 1 kg of chicken, or maybe feeding one buffalo or cow. that number is like hundreds or thousands times more than the wastage which goes in, say, 1 hour of your shaving or things like that. But you are not taught those things because there are vested interests. I mean, there are companies who will never ever talk about these things, or will not let you talk about these things. Now, this is the globalized food ecosystem. If you see that we are not eating our local food. I mean, most of our foods are kind of just exported here and there. And then US is one of the biggest consumers, where everyone is trying to export food to the US from different parts of the world. So again, a very wrong habit, where you are not eating the food which natural balance is produced for you, because the food which grows in India was meant for Indian genetic system, Indian ways of living, Indian human, whereas the food which grows in, let's say, China or Russia is very different and was meant for those guys. But because of globalization and exports, we have just screwed up the entire ecosystem. These are some of our food habits, extremely wrong, and none of these habits are correct. So we are consuming grains left, right, center. Almost like 40% of our calories come from grains. Then we eat a lot of sugar. I'll discuss that. You don't even know where our sugars are coming from, but we are eating sugar every 1 hour. We eat a lot of meat and animal-based products, and then we eat other produce, this is the real produce which you should be eating, but we are not eating much, which is your green foods, which we will come in the next few slides. Now, each one of you would have studied food chain in your 5th class, or maybe 6th class, 10th class, and biology students may have studied it a little more deeper. Now, a very, very simple concept to understand, but nobody is actually trying to understand this. So the food chain says that the highest energy sits here, which is your plants. And then as you move up the food chain, you only pass 10% of the energy. All of us have read this, right? I forgot the name of the person who introduced food chain in the world. So sorry. Okay, so if we are at 20,000 kilocalories here, the primary consumers, which are your termites and insects, etc., they are getting just 2,000 calories. And these guys like chickens and rodents, etc., they are getting 200 and so on. Now, the problem here is that instead of eating this area, which is your bottom, which is having the highest calories and which is the real food, which is because it is natural, it is coming directly from soil and sun, the 5 elements of life. But we are actually trying to eat somewhere here, which is your animal food, meat, maybe milk, and so on. And that is where we are going very, very wrong. I mean, we have to go at the bottom of the food chain rather than going towards the top of the food chain, because if we are, and then there are a lot of issues in this entire food chain, that we are disturbing the ecosystem balance, because if we eat the entire fish in the world, there will be heavy shortage of oxygen in the world, because fish is the biggest natural animal to reduce carbon dioxide in the planet. Similarly, when we are eating a lot of beef or chicken, you are taking away humongous amount of water from the planet, and you are eating wrong stuff, which we'll discuss in the next slide. So try to be eating as much as you can from the food chain here. I mean, the first level of the food chain. The rest of the levels are for other animals, not for human beings. Let them eat what they were meant to eat. Don't eat their food just to kind of satisfy your taste palates. And then this is the biggest issue in in a lot of diseases which we will discuss. I mean, almost like 70-80% of lifestyle diseases are just related with this food chain. We have disturbed this food chain by almost like 80 to 90%. And we can still recover it, because the best part is that nature can recover very, very fast and very well. So there is a study which says that if you remove all the human beings from Earth forever, the nature can come to its original within 18 days. So such is the power of natural balance, that it will take just 18 days to kind of recover from what it is today, from its original, if you wipe out the entire humanity from the planet. So we have really kind of screwed up the entire ecosystem, and we are paying the price for that. Corona is one example of that. Now, this Earth was made for beings, not only for human beings. We have to understand this. We have to coexist with nature. And when I say beings, it is not only animals, plants are also beings. I mean, they also have life. So we should be very, very conscious in managing this. Otherwise, few more decades and we will be just having artificial garbage everywhere to eat and see and do whatever. Then we won't be able to reverse it then. Now, a very contrasting example is that we are all mammals, right? I mean, humans are mammals. And have you seen any other mammal going to a doctor? Have you seen a monkey going to a doctor, or have you seen a lion going to a doctor, or a snake going to a doctor? Generally not. So animals heal themselves, which means that natural forces have given us the entire power to heal by ourselves. But the problem is that we have manipulated our entire healing system so very badly that we are not able to heal ourselves. And we are giving this wrong practice by kind of having pet animals, which is again a modern age phenomena. I mean, pet animals did not exist maybe 1,000 years back. There was nothing called pet camels or pet your cats and dogs and livestock like buffaloes and cows. There was nothing like that. Animals were free. Free means they were 95% wild animals. I mean, wild not in the sense of their nature, but I'm saying that they were free. They were not caged. They were not pet. They were not managed by human beings. They were on their own. Now, when human beings started managing these animals, because that is the nature of human beings, we love to manage people and manage everything else rather than keeping it to the natural balances. And that is when these animals also start getting habitual of doctors. So now we take our bovines and livestock to a veterinary. We take our cats and dogs to doctors. You free them up and you will see that they will be very happy. You are in a wrong myth that your dog is happy with you. No, I mean, you are kind of being atrocious on that animal just by showing the humans supremacy. So let's come out of that habit that we should keep pet animals. I mean, very tough to kind of absorb some of these facts, because we are seeing these things for the last many centuries. So many of us and I mean the population at large won't even believe a lot of these things, but yeah, these are facts. Coexist with nature and everything should be fine. Don't coexist with nature and you will pay the price which we are all witnessing. We might blame it to a lot of other things. We might say that, hey, I'm getting bored at home in lockdown. We might say that I'm not able to go for movies, but think about what we have done to nature and animals and so on. I mean, think about their freedom. We did not leave anything for them. And now we are talking about our own freedom. These are some of the facts. I will just quickly run through very astonishing facts that Now, the food system is the largest contributor to the depletion of a lot of non-renewable sources. So generally, we think that agriculture and farming is very good, but not really, because a lot of wrong practices in agriculture have led to a huge loss in biodiversity. So a lot of agriculture which we are doing today is not for human food. We are doing that agriculture to feed our livestock, because we want to then eat them as meat, and that is causing the wrong balance in the nature. Instead of eating the plants and the natural food directly, we are trying to feed that to an animal, and then we are feeding on that animal, which is where the entire ecological balance is going wrong. And we are generally not told about this. So we are generally saying that the temperatures of the world are increasing because of factories and because of automobiles. We are taught that greenhouse gases are happening because of air conditioners. We are taught that water is being depleted because we are not conserving water properly, or we are wasting water at home. Yes, these are also factors, but these factors hardly contribute to 1 or 2% of the problem. The larger problem is the food habits. Because of our food habits, we are exploiting the wrong natural resources in the wrong ways. Same applies to the seafood. We have already exploited 90% of the seafood. The only marine life which is left out in the world is around 10%. And if we finish that also, then our next generation, or maybe within our this generation, our children, etc., will see a massive collapse in this system in the next few decades. And a lot of these companies try to talk about some bullshit like sustainability, and so they try to fix the problem which is already created by them. I mean, you can't fix it that way. So first you kind of exploit it, and then you just put some marketing campaigns by putting some sustainability labels, etc. Doesn't work. I mean, it can't help. Again, you can read these slides later. AG industry is nothing but agriculture industry. This is the healthcare industry. Now, if you see the contrast, I mean, not that we are investing a lot in healthcare industry. We are still bad in healthcare industry, but we are investing in healthcare industry without understanding the why behind it, and then that won't solve the problems. I mean, you can keep investing for the next billion years, and that is the reason a lot of despite the best of scientists in the world, we are not able to cure cancer. We are not able to cure corona. We are not able to cure Parkinson's disease. We are not able to cure Alzheimer's, and so on. Is it because we don't have healthcare system? No, it is because healthcare can't understand human and nature just by science. I mean, you can understand the science, but you have to understand the why of the science, not the what and how. And most of us are actually busy kind of getting busy solving the wrong things. Our soil, which we were proud of maybe 50 years back, it is depleted. I mean, heavily exploited and very, very polluted. So the crops which you are eating are not the best of crops, but yeah, I mean, they are at least better than the higher scales of food chain. Because another very important thing to understand in food chain, which I explained here, is that the concentration of toxicity increases by geometric progression as you go up. So for example, if your selenium in plant is let's say 1 milligram, then this person who is eating here will get, let's say, 1 multiplied by 2, and this organism will get 2 multiplied by 4, and so on. So the concentration per calorie, etc., is increasing in geometric progression, which is very, very dangerous. So comes back to why you should eat right from the bottom of the food chain. Now, we are trying to again quick fix the soil by not fixing the problem, but by adding artificial solutions like fertilizers and biocides, and then we also add this hoopla around organic and so on. I mean, nothing is organic except natural organic, which nature gave us. So try to get back that organic stuff from nature rather than adding pesticides and so on. And there are a lot of ways to do that. And there are a lot of fantastic communities, groups, companies who are trying to do this. So if you are more aware of these practices, I think you will learn more about it.
Sir, what about the dairy products?
Yeah, we'll come to that. So now I discussed this, that hypernutrition is causing diabetes, heart disease, Crohn's disease, cancer. Cancer, the biggest problem for cancer is hypernutrition. And I'm not getting into the science and biology here. You guys can read if you want to, or you can talk to doctors if they can tell you the why. But if you talk about diabetes, now diabetes happens when you get insulin resistant. And why do you get insulin resistant? Because you are overthrowing nutrition in your body in the form of, say, carbohydrates, fats, and your proteins. Now, a lot of us, you would have heard that carbs are very bad. You should reduce carbs. You should have carb-free diets. That is all wrong. Carbs are good as long as they are eaten in the right quantity. Proteins are good as long as they are eaten in the right quantity, and so on. But I would say the most dangerous are proteins and your fats. Proteins, because human body doesn't know how to store proteins, they convert into amino acids. If you recall your chemistry, and then amino acids can convert to free toxins in the body and extra nitrogen and so on. And your fats, which is your saturated fats, they start kind of clogging your arteries here. So you kind of atherosclerosis, which is the deposition of stuff in your arteries, which happens because of wrong food habits. Now, how do you solve it? Doctors will say that, hey, I will put the stent, and then your arteries will expand, and you are done. And then he will say, hey, what should I eat? Yeah, you can eat ice creams and whatever you wish. By the way, you can also eat some meat and some parathas and so on. Absolutely wrong, because either he doesn't know, or he wants to add another stent to you after 2 years. So there are vested interest. So rather than putting a stent, and if you have time, I mean, if you are at a stage of life that, I mean, you don't have more than 5 days, then there is no option but to go for a surgery or stents and so on. But if you have, let's say, 6 months or 12 months, and if you are on, say, all those pills for diabetes or heart diseases, start making some conscious choices in your food, in your lifestyle, in your exercise, and so on. Continue with the pills, because you can't stop those habits of pills suddenly. But you will be able to see that within 6 months, you don't need those pills, and you will never need that surgery as well, because you have fixed the root cause. And that is what we are generally not fixing. So we'll get into more details here. Now, this is the favorite for everyone, and I mean, with all due respect to Pepsi, who is also one of our clients, but I would say that one of the worst companies to ever happen in the world. I mean, everything which they produce is total crap. A soda bottle, a Lay's packet, I mean, it is full of crap. Very, very heavy artificial sugar, which is the biggest cause for cancer and diabetes, and a lot of other diseases. Then they also add additional artificial stuff, which are sometimes heavy metals, sometimes something else. Extremely wrong practices. These guys will handle the lobbies and so on, so everything is managed, but at the heart of it, none of these things are good. And if you ask the founders and CEOs of the companies, they will say, hey, I don't recommend my kids to eat soda. Or if you ask uh, uh, the Tim Cooks and these guys like Nadelas of the world, do they recommend mobile apps and extremely high consumption of digital content to their families? No. They might be the biggest producers of digital content and all these digital habits, but in the bottom of their heart, they don't want to kind of get into these habits, which means these are wrong things. So try to understand that all these things you give you a very high adrenaline and dopamine effect, and they are like a vicious cycle of happiness. So to all the guys who drink alcohol, I mean, you drink one bottle, it gives you some shot in the mind, and then you look for another bottle, it gives you another shot, and so on. And then after a couple of months, you are in a die-hard habit. I mean, you can't go away with it. Same applies to cigarettes. So and then we write books like Hooked. So you use those human psychology to kind of hook your habits, and then lead to some drastic consequences in your lifestyle and your health. So be aware and don't become slaves to these habits, and then you will be perfectly fine. Now we will discuss a little more on plant-based diets. Now, when I say plant-based diets, means something which comes from plants, something which is what nature has given us, not plants which are artificially grown. I'm not talking about genetically modified plants, which are again very dangerous. I'm talking about the real plants. Now, the plant-based diets are low in calories, but very high in fibers. Why are fibers required? Again, is a separate topic to discuss. It helps you in your gut microbiome and your gut flora, which is very, very important for human health. Why do you need high dietary fiber, which comes from cereals and millets? Why do you need the low saturated fatty acids, which is your when you do a blood report, you would see LDLs, HDLs, and all those things. There are good fats, there are bad fats. Generally, plant-based fats are good, and so that's a rule of thumb. Plant-based fats are good. Animal-based fats are bad. That's the rule of thumb, with some exceptions for people who are already suffering. If you are not suffering, if you are healthy, you can eat plant-based foods without much restrictions. If you are having other lifestyle habits like, say, yoga or exercise and so on, you can eat your plant-based foods the way you want. Very, very healthy. Plant-based foods are very heavy in antioxidants. Just to give a very, very high-level view of antioxidants, how do they help? Antioxidants keep the balance of oxidants in our body. Oxidants are your free radicals. Free radicals are dangerous because they can combine into some other good chemicals in our body and can change the structure of those chemicals, which can lead to disasters. One of the core problems in cancer. So hence you need to take antioxidants, not antioxidant pills, but antioxidants which come from nature. And plant-based foods are full of antioxidants. Then your micronutrients like magnesium, potassium, vitamin B. B vitamin is very complex, but very, very important for our life. Again, this is the only vitamin which is scarce in plant-based foods because our soils are spoiled. Some 30-40 years back, even vitamin B was good. But there is still hope. There are certain foods like millets which still have very high vitamin B. Otherwise, vitamin B is slightly low in plant-based foods. Magnesium, potassium, again, very, very important for human life. They maintain the balance between alkaline and acidic ratios in our body. If your acidic ratios are high, you will struggle with your immunity. You will have diseases like cancer and so on. So one of the reasons when you connect it back with, say, COVID, etc., is if you don't have the right balance of acidic and basic level in your body will start showing that stress in some ways, which can be physical stress or mental stress and so on, and which then takes the form of a disease. And then you talk about your irons and nitrates and so on. Iron, again, you have a lot of iron rich diets and so on. And this is how they help you. They reduce the blood pressure, good for vascular inflammation and so on. I'll take a pause here for 1 or 2 minutes. Any questions, please? Veena, we are almost 1 hour, but I still have slides. So how should we do it?
We can go ahead, Manoj. If you
Guys, you guys are fine. Shall we?
I think Mary has some question.
Yeah, I think I'm good. And Manoj, I'm really interested in knowing, you mentioned earlier about reversing diabetes. I'm interested in that information.
Sure. Now, this is again a very high-level view of how animal protein and plant-based protein reacts in our human body. It is a very high-level view from a scientific study. I mean, if you guys are interested in biology, you can get into the detailed details of this. So how it actually works is, if you see, the left-hand side is animal protein and the right-hand side is fiber, which is the plant-based protein. And this section below it is our human body. Now, animal protein goes into our human body. This is how the human body reacts. And then this is how, if you see this bottom section, right, this section, sorry, the bottom part is where the problem starts. So the animal based proteins, they release a lot of endotoxins and those kind of things, which even don't die after cooking, and which leads to oxidative stress and CKD and inflammation. Again, these things are something which you can read. I'm not getting into the details of these, which is not the case with any plant-based food, because plant-based food maintains your alkaline environment, whereas animal-based food makes your gut very, very acidic within a day. So you eat your chicken today, and within 1 hour your body is heavily acidic. Whereas you eat some millets or some salads, and your body is very alkaline, and which is the natural body, which we'll again discuss why our body is so good with plants and not so good with animals. Now, see, a lot of things which we have in our body are because of a reason. So our kidneys are like a kidney bean, because the kidney likes that kidney bean protein. Kidney doesn't like animal protein. Kidney likes plant protein, which comes from legumes, which is your rajma and your lobias and your dals and so on. And that is the natural way of kind of expressing it, that hey, give me kidney beans, don't give me kidney meat. Similarly, if you see, I've not covered it in the slide, but if you see how nature is formed. So when we see the structure of our planet, 70% is water. Human body, 70% is water. The planet is, I guess, 23% oxygen. Human body is again 23% oxygen. Then you have those metals like, say, 0.01% magnesium in the planet. We have exactly 0.01% magnesium in our own body. So nature has created such a perfect balance between how the planet was formed and how our human body was formed. There is a heavily perfect balance how it was created, but then we have screwed it up. Now the planet doesn't have that balance, and even our human body doesn't have that balance, and both the states are in imbalance. Now, how do you get that balance is what is very, very important. And if you can get the balance in both the sides, you will be in perfect harmony. You won't have any diseases, any of these things. That is how the planet was formed. And this is not I am saying, these are all a lot of studies and a lot of, you can read it in Upanishads, I mean, the guys who believe in I would say age-old literature, they can read the Upanishads or or those kind of Shushrut or Puranas, whereas the guys who believe the modern styles, they can read the Homo sapiens kind of books. All talk about the same thing. Now, this is the plant-based diet on the left-hand side, animal-based diet on the right-hand side. Now, everything is very good about plant-based diet. They are high in fiber, magnesium, all the metals as per the right balance. Now, in the previous slide, I told that how the planet is formed and how the human body is formed. Now, when you eat animal-based diet, the magnesium content which you are getting from animal-based diet is in a wrong proportion, and hence that will accumulate in your body, and your body will express it in some form of a disease, because it's very natural that body has only two ways of suppressing any external garbage. Either they will excrete it through our excreta, or they will express it through a disease. There are only two ways. There is no other way. There is not a third way. Or they will kind of accumulate it, and then they will express like a bomb after a few years, which is effectively your diseases like cancer or Parkinson's and so on. Smaller diseases are good because you are getting to know your disease faster. So everything about the right side is extremely wrong. Everything about the left hand side is very good. I will spend say a minute here on short chain fatty acids. Now all plant-based foods have short chain fatty acids. Recall your chemistry. Whereas all the animal-based foods have long-term fatty acids, LFCA, LCFA. So try to increase short chain fatty acids in your diets, which you can increase with plant-based foods. And plant-based foods are heavy in antioxidants and phytochemicals. Phytochemicals, you can consider them like your chlorophyll. Plant food has chlorophyll and phytochemicals and all these phytocolloids. They are some forms of chlorophyll, which is essential for human life. Some details on carbs, proteins, and fats. As I mentioned, all of them are important, but in the right proportion. There is a lot of misinformation that you should reduce the carbs. Not really. I mean, you should have the right carbs as well, but you should have the right carbs in the right form. So rather than eating a burger, try to eat a whole grain. Rather than eating some naan or some maida kind of stuff, try to eat something from the whole grains. Then comes your protein. Try to take proteins from plants rather than animals. Now, a lot of people who eat meat, etc., they say that, hey, I won't get my protein because plant-based products don't have protein. That's a total myth. How would animals get their protein? I mean, they are actually eating plants, right? They are not eating something else. I mean, every life is actually eating plant to build themselves. So that means plant is the real source of everything. So just eat plants. Very, very simple to understand. Very straightforward, very simple. Everything else is just marketing gimmicks. Very, very straightforward. Now coming to a very famous topic and a very, very controversial topic as well, but I mean, there are a lot of scientific studies behind this. Milk. Human is the only mammal in the planet which drinks somebody else's milk. So I'm repeating this. Human is the only mammal in the planet which drinks the milk of other mammals like buffalo, cow, goat, and so on. All other mammals drink their own mother's milk. Human was also made to drink their own mother's milk, and hence mother's milk is the best form of nutrition ever kind of being there. But what we do is, after a year, we start feeding our kids with animal milk, which is your cow's milk and so on. And we are so very obsessed with this marketing that all these campaigns which happened in the US as well as in India, A2 milk, A1 milk, and so on. I mean, milk is milk. There is nothing called A2 and A1. Not really good for health. But since it has been into our lives for so many thousands of years, our human cells have also evolved to some extent in that way. So if you are excessively obsessed with milk, dairy milk, etc., you can still continue it, but give a very conscious effort to kind of reduce it wherever you can, whether you can in the form of, say, direct consumption of milk, or maybe in the form of paneer, or in the form of, let's say, cheese and so on. Now, ghee to some extent is good for health because ghee is very alkaline. It has a lot of medicinal properties. So it should be consumed, but again in a very limited fashion. Not that it should be consumed, it is very important to consume, but again, if you are habitual of ghee, you can still consume it, but in limits. But again, try to reduce dairy products in your life, because cow's milk was made for the cow's baby. But what we do is we remove the cow's baby after the birth of the cow's child, the calf, and we start feeding the calf with plants who was actually supposed to drink cow's milk, and just because of our own self-interest, we start drinking cow's milk. So absolutely wrong. So very, very simple and plain. A lot of people think that cow's milk and all those milk have a lot of calcium, but cow also gets that calcium from plants. So eat plants and you will get enough calcium. Leafy vegetables like, say, spinach, kale, anything green has a lot of calcium. Millets have a lot of calcium. A lot of people think that if I don't drink milk, my bones will be very weak. Bones don't need a lot of calcium. Again, you can read it. The calcium requirement in the body is very limited, and you can easily get it from plants. Your bones are strong by doing the right exercise, by doing physical labor. Bones don't get strong by just drinking milk and gulping liters of milk every day. You have to put your bones to work for them to get strong. So I hope this calcium thing is clear, and that this again links back to a lot of stuff like osteoporosis, arthritis, and so on. And you will see millions and millions of people eating these calcium tablets and all those tablets which are given by doctors, etc., etc. You don't really need them if you eat the right plant-based food along with the right vitamin D, which comes from sun, because vitamin D is what helps in the absorption of calcium, and then you will be fine. You don't need any supplements for calcium. Now,
Anuj,
yeah,
Vijay has added a question here.
yeah.
He's saying that dairy helps in vitamin D.
Dairy helps in vitamin D, yes, but as I mentioned, that the simple thing is, how is dairy getting its vitamin D? Dairy is nothing but buffaloes, right, or cows. How is cow getting vitamin D? It doesn't have some magic in their body to create vitamin D, right? They are getting the vitamin D from nature, which is your plants combined with the right sunlight on those plants. So if you eat the right plants, you will get the vitamin D. And if you, for example, mushroom, rich in vitamin D, plus most of your vitamin D can come directly from sunlight, which is the best source of vitamin D. There is a lot of noise around fish oil, vitamin D, cod liver oil, vitamin D, all that is complete crap. That is all marketing and sales. Your best source of vitamin D is sunlight. And then the second best resource of vitamin D is some plants which are rich in vitamin D. That's all. That is what you need. I hope that makes sense. I can send you some very well-researched literature on that. Now, within plant-based foods, now we have also, what we have done is we have made derivatives of plant-based food. So we studied those dy by dx and d2y by dx square and so on in our maths, right? That is what human has done in food. So we have made derivatives of food, and that derivative is kind of evolving every single day. We go to a restaurant and they come up with a new derivative rather than serving us the original food. So fruits have become juices. Eat fruits. Don't have artificial juices. Artificial juices are absolute shit. Eat leafy greens, vegetables, some potatoes, sweet potatoes, beans, lentils, pastas if you are habitual of pastas, but eat whole wheat or lentils pasta. Millets pasta. You can eat some corn. You can eat some brown rice and so on. White rice and wheat. These are genetically modified crops. These are not crops which existed in the planet. They are all derived in the last 70, 80 years. Not good for health. Very high in gluten. You would have seen gluten-free wheat. There is nothing called gluten-free wheat. Every wheat is rich with gluten. But if you are again very habitual of wheat, maybe eat lesser wheat and more millets and your old grains like jowar and so on, which Indians were very habitual of maybe 50 years back. But then we again got so very obsessed with other countries, and we changed our lifestyle. And then that fast food is actually a slow poison in our body. So the right side food, avoid it as much as you can, and if you can delete it from your life, you will be very happy. If I have to talk about myself, not that I did not have these things, but in the last 14 months, I can very confidently say that I would not have maybe more than 1 kg of all of these things put together. Now, this is the whole grain hierarchy again, talking about the derivatives, that this is the real whole grain if you can eat it. So many times we say that your sprouts are very healthy, right? You would have heard of sprouts are very healthy. Why are sprouts healthy? Because sprout is the seed which is taking the form of a new life. Seed is nothing but life, and as soon as it sprouts, it's entering a new life. So at that point of time, it has the highest energy and the highest nutrients, and hence sprouts are very good. And second is, sprouts are slightly more alkaline. They are not acidic, so they are again good. They are very fibrous, and they are the real form of grains. And then when you get into the lower part of it, you will see puffed grains, all these puffed quinoas, and then you also get these flakes, corn flakes, and so on. You can try to avoid them. I mean, not that they are very bad, but try to move up the value chain, which is your whole grains. As you go down, you are reducing the nutrient quality. This is how we are making our food habits worse, and that is visible in our agriculture. Soya was a good product, but soya is not a great product because it is heavily genetically modified now. Almost like 80 to 90% of soya and corn is produced in the world to feed livestock for meat. Hence, corn and soya is not a very great food. I mean, you can eat it in limits, but not a great food because of the genetically modification to serve the meat industry. And then if you see, the real crops are very, very less, the gray part, which was your original crops, which existed in the original planet, and they have been modified in the last 200-300 hundreds of years due to these industrial revolutions and so on. And they have changed our entire cell structure and everything else. And this is a big problem for our diseases like your diabetes and whatever else, any disease, and the reason is here. A lot of us think that gymming, going to gym and kind of doing that weight exercise and so on can neutralize some crap which we eat, some junk food which we eat. No. Food is the foremost and most important thing. You can stop gym for your entire life and you will be completely fine if you have the right food habits. and maybe some bit of other natural form of exercises. So just to add more flavor to our discussion today, you see that when you are talking about corona, everything which is natural is still with you. For example, your own body, you can do yoga. You don't need any prop for a yoga. You don't need any gym, anything for yoga. You don't need even $100 for yoga. You can do pranayam. You just need fresh air. But your gyms are closed because it was artificial. It was not natural. So what I'm trying to say here is that anything which is natural to human stays with you in good or bad times. Anything which is artificial is not going to stay. So just remember this. This diagram, I'm not sure if it is visible, but this is the whole grain hierarchy and how we have screwed up our entire grain structure. So the real grains were millets and maybe black rice and some form of brown rice and jowar and so on. What we generally eat today, which is white rice and polished rice, gluten wheat, etc., they were not original. They are all modified. Try to reduce them as much as possible, and that is why people say that reduce carbs. Now you can link it back that why people say reduce carbs is because you are eating the wrong carbs. You are eating the modified carbs, which are very rich in sugar and the wrong things, and hence they lead to diabetes. If you eat the right carbs, which don't have so much of your glucose, the fructose and glucose, rather they have the other minerals and vitamins, so you will be fine. Now this diagram shows that how our forest, so we might be saying that deforestation has happened because of a lot of industrialization and buildings. Yes, that has been one of the cause, but 60 to 70% of the deforestation is because of wrong agricultural practices to feed livestock. Not sure if many of you know this. So a lot of ecological imbalance is not because of some of these industrial age phenomena, but these are because of your so-called milk revolution and egg revolution and all those meat revolutions. All these revolutions in human life are in the capitalist society, they are called very nice, but they are actually a curse to human beings. Every single revolution has been a curse to human beings. You talk about the industrial revolution, it screwed up the entire natural balances. You talk about the milk revolution, it screwed up the entire forestation and the water balance. You talk about the egg revolution, egg itself is so very crap. So I mean that anyways there is nothing to talk about, and so on. You talk about silk revolution. Every revolution which is artificial is a total mishap to the humanity. Now coming to the dairy products, you can read it. So now see dairy, a lot of people drink milk in the night and they feel very nice because milk has caseinomorphins, and caseinomorphin is a type of morphine, and morphine is nothing but induces habit and sleep. So and that is why we get habitual of milk, the cow's milk, because cow's milk has caseinomorphin, which was good for the cow's baby, which is the calf. But human body is not a calf, right? We are not supposed to become a bull. Our body is limited. So hence we are drinking the wrong thing. A lot of people talk about milk intolerance and osteoporosis and psoriasis, eczema, so on and so forth. I mean, just stop milk. You will be fine because you are eating somebody else's milk. Let the calf milk the cow's milk, and you be happy with your mother's milk when you were lucky during your age, and then now you just try to reduce, if not stop it, because I know that milk is something which is so very deep in our ecosystem, our rituals and our religion and so on, that it may be tough to kind of completely remove it, but even if you reduce it by 50-60%, it's a great welcome news. How you can exchange the milk for something good, you can eat coconut milk. You can eat tofu. You can have almonds and so on. So there is no reason for you to have milk as such. So this is a wrong slide. This is a famous theory called as pleasure trap. When a kid is born, he doesn't know about any taste. I mean, when you give salt to the baby the first time, there is a very different kind of reaction, because the baby was never meant to take external salt, because salt is already there in plant-based foods. You don't need external salt. So whatever a baby reacts to means that that was not natural for them. And we keep on giving those junk food in our lives, and then we get habitual of that junk food, and then we start getting more and more pleasure out of that junk food, and we keep adding that junk food because we need more and more of that. That is the way junk food works. It never satiates you. It asks you for more. So when you are in stress, you tend to eat more sugars. When you are in stress, you tend to eat more burgers and all that shit. But when you go for a run, or when you come from a gym, I doubt you will eat a junk food, because your body doesn't feel like having that junk food. Your body will say, hey, let me drink a glass of orange juice or a lemon juice, something which is very natural. You will eat an apple or a banana. So you can find the connect, right? That your body is behaving the right way when you are doing the right things to the body. If you are doing the wrong things to the body expresses in the wrong way, and then you are into a trap. This is a very, very famous quote from Thomas Edison, and he told this, I think whenever he lived, maybe 100 years back or 200 years back, the doctors of the future will no longer treat the human with drugs, but rather will cure with nutrition. So what I'm trying to say is, again, in the next slide, let food be your medicine and medicine be your food. Very, very deep meaning, very, very important slide. I'm repeating, food is medicine. Anything else is not really medicine. If you deeply think about all the medicines which we are getting into our pharmaceuticals or all this industry, finally they are also coming from natural resources, right? They are also having all those ascorbic acid. So for example, everyone is having Limcy during COVID. You don't need Limcy. Just have one full lime every day, and you don't need Limcy for the rest of your life. Everyone is eating Zinkovitz, zinc and magnesium. You have some broccolis and some simple green food. You don't need any of these things. So food is everything, and all the medicines, the extracts of the medicines are coming from food. I mean, human can't make potassium or phosphorus or those things, right? They are also dependent upon nature to make those chemical compositions. And those chemical compositions are already there in food in the right proportion, whereas they may not be in the right proportions in medicines, because those are artificial. Again, a very great quote from a practitioner. People are fed by food tech industry, which doesn't care about health, and we all know that, just for making money. And then we are treated by health industry, which pays no attention to food. So we are in a vicious cycle. So neither the food industry is telling us the right things, nor the health industry is telling us the right things. So you have to be aware of the right things, and you can't be saying that, hey, I am a victim of awareness. That is your problem. I mean, you can't be a victim of awareness. Food is not a commodity. Again, if I have to go slightly more spiritual and philosophical, food is prana. Food is the only form of God which is present, which you can touch and feel. I'm repeating, food is the only form of life which you can touch and feel and eat. Hence, don't treat food as commodity. When you are eating food, maybe thank the Almighty that I am getting food today, and then you will see a difference. When you are eating food, eat it with reverence, eat it with love. When you are cooking food, cook it with love. We know, I mean, including my home, there is a culture of having domestic help and so on. Ideally, it should be cooked by ourselves, because that is when you actually add the love. But that's okay. But that's some dope on food. I mean, in the yogic tradition and spirituality, food is alive. I mean, what we eat is alive. So when you are eating a mango, think that you are eating one life and merging that life with your own life. When you are eating a banana, think that that banana was a seed sometime. That seed became a form of banana. And then you are eating that banana, means that seed which was once alive is merging with your life. And if you start feeling it that way, you won't destroy that life, which is food. You won't waste that food. You won't kind of you will revere that food. You will give due respect to that food. Again, this is a very famous philosophy: eat your water and chew your drink. Now, this is again. We are all told to kind of drink and sip water every now and then, right? I mean, every ad from Bisleri, etc., will say that you should have a water bottle all the time with you, and you should keep sipping. This is absolutely wrong. You should sip water only when you are thirsty. Again, remember your childhood days. When is a child crying for water? When he is thirsty. And we generally say that in the initial 6 months of the baby, don't give any external water, because water is there in the right form in the mother's milk. Same applies to when we grow. Water is there in the right form in plant-based foods. 70 to 80% of plants are water, which is the planet's composition and the human body composition of 73%. So don't drink water again and again just to make sure that we saw that ad from Bisleri, which asked us to drink water every now and then. Because if you drink water without being thirsty, you are actually creating an imbalance of sodium in your body, which again you can read through. You are creating an imbalance of enzymes in your body, because when you eat plant-based foods, the water is coming along with that, and it also has a lot of enzymes which are essential for the body, which should not be flushed out by external water. So drink water when you are thirsty, otherwise eat your water. So this is the raw food pyramid. So another very important thing, and which can answer Vijay's question also, a lot of people feel that plant-based foods don't have the right quantity of nutrition and so on. There is a reason for that. Sometimes that nutrition is lost by wrong habits of washing the food. In the earlier days, you would have heard that 4 vitamins A, D, E, K are water soluble, and if you kind of cut vegetables, then they will be washed. So you should have the right habits. Second, you should not be overcooking your food. So there are a lot of foods which you can eat raw, and try to eat them raw. And this is known as raw vegan diet. Very, very famous diet pattern. This name is modern, but these existed right when we were orangutans or monkeys. I mean, talk about monkeys, which are our forefathers. They were eating raw food, right? So that means we also should have to eat raw food. So try to eat raw food as much as possible. But I'm not saying that eat the raw food which you should not be eating. So you should not be eating, say, raw something which cannot be eaten raw. but there are a lot of fruits and vegetables which we sometimes think that has to be cooked, but is not required to be cooked. Example is cabbage, broccoli, lot of your legumes. You can just paraboil them rather than just making a khichdi out of them by boiling them for 1 hour. You don't need to kind of use a lot of that gravies which are becoming very popular in India. Try to eat raw, and that is where the juicing comes in picture. That if you are not able to eat raw, then make a juice out of it. Mix 2-3 vegetables and fruits, and the juices are very, very delicious. I mean, take 1 carrot, 1 lemon, some leaves of mint, and then maybe what do you call some kiwi, some amla, and put it into a grinder, and then just drink it, and it tastes amazing. After you start drinking it, maybe after 1 month, you will say you will never ever feel like having those colas and the artificial stuff, and your sugar appetite will automatically kind of reduce drastically. You won't feel like having anything sugary. Very, very simple to do. Spend some time on millets. Millets are very, very rich. The original form of grains, extremely beneficial for health. The good part is that the southern part of India is still having millet habits. Northern part of India, except for bajra, they hardly eat millets. But if you can come back to millets, very, very good for life. And it also kind of simplifies from how millets are grown. So millets are food which can grow with very, very less water in very harsh conditions, which means they don't require humongous amount of water just like rice. And that is why rice and wheat is wrong food, because rice, you are just creating it artificially by just adding doses of water and water every time of the day. Whereas millet, if anyone is from the farming background, you will see that millets can grow with very, very less water. You see about barley, which is growing in every part of the desert in Rajasthan. So that is how nature has kind of given us those right foods, but then we have kind of changed it because of misinformation. This is something which I already discussed, that sometimes we feel that by just doing some gyms and run, you can do away with all the junk. Not really. This is another very popular concept, that food remains the same for every disease, whereas medicine changes with every disease. So you have a different pill for diabetes, different pill for heart attack, different pill for cancer, different pill for headache, different pill for something else. But food is universal. You have same food for every disease. You have same food for every healthy lifestyle. So if you are able to relate and understand the deeper meaning of this, you will understand that how we have complicated our lifestyle by our own mistakes. If it is so simple, why are we not doing it? Maybe because we don't have the right awareness. We are not able to come over our habits. We have a regular mindset of inertia and do it tomorrow kind of a mindset. But I would say that put a conscious effort, you will be able to do it. There are a lot of theoretical research behind it. Identical twins having same DNA, same genes, still one is having a lot of disease, one is not having disease. That means that the two persons, they were victims of the human artificial lifestyle. Otherwise, nature had created them similar. So family history should not become personal destiny. You can reverse it. Epigenetics, you can read about it. I mean, you can suppress some of your genes by some of the right habits. Not 100%, but to to a large extent, you can suppress them. Now, this is something which is how I started my entire journey for learning about these things. Every human has cancer cells. I am carrying cancer cells, and each one of you hearing this session is carrying cancer cells. And cancer cells are like your gundas. If you have one gunda, you can handle it. If you have two gundas in two different parts of the body, you can handle it. So for example, there is one gunda in Delhi, one gunda in Bombay. We are still fine, right? I mean, nothing is worrisome. Then let's talk about three gundas, one in Bombay, one in Delhi, and one in Chennai. We are still fine because India is very large. But assume there are some 100,000 gundas, and then they come together in a single place, let's say Gurgaon. Now that is dangerous. Then they can destroy Gurgaon. And then by destroying Gurgaon, they can slowly destroy NCR. And then they will slowly destroy parts of North India, and so on. And then that is the chain reaction, which is what is the very, very high level understanding of cancer. Cancer starts with few cancer cells in the body, which we all have. But human body keeps a nice balance of destroying cancer cells every single day. So we have some, I guess, I don't remember the numbers, but we generate some 30,000 cells every minute. And at the same time, we destroy 30,000 cells every minute. But when we start having the imbalance that we generate 30,000 cells and we are only able to clean up 15,000 cells, that is when the problem starts. And why we are getting into that imbalance is something which we already discussed in the last 2 hours, is because of different bad habits and some bit of environmental issues, which are again created by humans. So don't let the cancer cells get defeated. What is the number one killer in the world? Are these terror attacks? Are these floods? Are these fires? Or are these epidemics like, say, COVID? None of them. The biggest killer in the world is lifestyle diseases. You can check the numbers. The number of people dying from heart attacks, diabetes, cancer, etc., 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 is much more than anything which died in any of the terrorist attacks, any of the pandemics, etc. But they are happening every day. They are happening in different parts of the world. They are kind of taken for granted. We have all kind of agreed to that okay, we will die from heart attacks. It's okay. That is the reason nobody is talking about it. Second is they are induced by a lot of wrong habits by the consumerist society. Hence, nobody is talking about it. Lifestyle diseases were non-existent in developing and underdeveloped countries like India, China, Africa. If you talk about some 50-60 years back, these regions never had lifestyle diseases. But now we have it because our food patterns have changed drastically. Our ways of our lifestyles have changed drastically. I'll skip some of these slides. These are animal meat issues, endotoxins, which we discussed, very, very harmful. Oxidative stress, you can read about it. Very, very bad thing to happen in human body. This tomato has gone through an oxidative stress, and that is how the human cells go to oxidative stress if we do the wrong things in the body, which is through free radicals. So you have to overcome oxidative stress. Acidic and alkaline, we have discussed this, that if you eat plant-based food, your body has a good balance of acidic and alkaline. If you eat all this crap, your body will be very highly acidic, which is very, very dangerous. Humans are self-regulating organisms. You don't need anything else from outside. They are programmed to heal themselves. They are the best artificial intelligence and NLPs and whatever the modern age is talking about. Pills are only masking and suppressing those symptoms. They are not curing the real problem. I'm just skipping this. And I think this is the last 1 or 2 slides. This is a famous quote from Stephen Covey. To learn and not to do is really not to learn, and to know and not to do is really not to know, which means that we read a lot of books and then we flush it out, and then we write it in social media that I read 50 books in this month. I mean, it's useless if you don't implement it. You go for a Bhagavad Gita or a Pravachan or all that, and you don't implement it, useless. Maybe you can learn one thing in 1 year, but implement it. That will be worthwhile. This is a very nice shot. Your biodiversity inside your stomach is very, very similar to the biodiversity which exists in the planet. So if you take a shot, a highly magnified shot of sea flora and the human gut flora, they resemble very, very much, which means how human and planet were supposed to coexist. 70% of our immune system is inside our gut. You need to take care of it. These are some best practices. This is the last slide. It might answer some of your questions. You can replace eggs by legumes. You can replace cow's milk by almonds, millets, and coconut. You can replace meat and still get the flavor of meat by jackfruit, banana flour, soya, and mushroom. You can replace paneer by tofu, white sugar by jaggery. Jaggery is very, very good and rich in B complex and calcium. You can replace white salt by rock salt, because rock salt doesn't only have the sodium, it also has a lot of other minerals like magnesium and phosphorus and so on. You can replace wheat and white rice by brown rice, black rice, and millets. There is a very popular concept of 16 hours fast and 8 hours food, which is you complete your food by 6 or 7 in the evening and you don't eat anything till the next morning around 9 o'clock or maybe 10 o'clock. And then just eat after that, which is in 16 hours you are just drinking maybe a juice or something, and the rest 8 hours is when you eat. This concept is very popular in Jainism. A lot of Jains practice it, and if you meet some of these Jains, you will find that most of these guys generally don't suffer from lifestyle diseases. Drink only when you are thirsty. I explained you the reasons. Try to eat raw food because that is where the real minerals are. Don't add any external sugars. We don't need external sugars because all the sugars are there naturally in our diets. Try to add green tea, turmeric, aloe, lemon. Lemon is very, very important. Vitamin C is extremely important for humanity. Vitamin D is again extremely important. And both are in abundance without spending money. Get sunshine. Do yoga. I am a very, very big believer of yoga. It can cure anything and everything. Yoga is inner engineering. It is not. I mean, it heals you from inside and hence also heals you from outside. Whereas most of the other forms of gym and sports, etc., are only healing you from outside, and then you may not be healing yourself from inside. But running, jogging, weights, some bit of weight sports is very good practice. Replace fish oil with plant oils. Eat your water, drink your food. We discussed this. And if you want to go to the next level, indulge in pranayama and maybe indulge in some spirituality, because spirituality is what will keep your mind calm, balanced, and will teach you the right values of life. So thank you. It was a very long session. I hope it was helpful. I can take questions if anyone has questions.
Nidhi has a question, Manoj. She's asking how to protect our body from pesticides used in green vegetables.
Yeah, so it's tough to do that because it's so very pervasive in entire planet that you can't really do a lot about it. You can't really trust what is organic and what is not organic. So little tough, but I really don't have an answer to this, because this is something which can be solved by everyone coming together and solving it as a problem. It can't be solved by one individual. But the good news is that the pesticides in plants are still okay for your body. The hormones from animal food are extremely dangerous. You have to understand the difference. When you get hormones in your body which are from meat, extremely dangerous. Whereas when you are getting some pesticides here and there from your plants, your natural cleansing system will take care of that. Rest you can't handle, because I mean, if 99% of the planet is kind of taken a pledge to kind of destroy the planet, I mean 1% can't do much. What else? Any other questions?
I think Mary wanted to know about the diabetic, which you were saying, how to reverse the diabetic.
Yeah, so Mary, I mean, I already covered, start looking at your food habits. I'm sure that you would have some wrong habits. Reduce, I can give you a diet chart as well if you want, what to eat, what not to eat. And don't eat after 6 or 7 o'clock. Don't eat before, say, 7 or 8 in the morning. We generally have the habit of just getting up and gulping food because our parents are saying, and they are habitual of just kind of dosing food every now and then. Human body doesn't require too much of food. I mean, if you overdose yourself, it is accumulating in your body in the form of toxicity and fats and so on, and that is the reason for your diabetes. So if you study diabetes, the reason of diabetes is not glucose, which people keep talking about. It is actually fats. And then if you are very motivated, then do yoga, running, and I can guarantee you that you can reverse it within 3 months, not even 6 months. Completely, you can completely remove it from your body.
Thanks, Manoj. I think I'm already on the right path then, but those tips are really helpful.
That's all, Manoj. No more questions. People are asking to share the PPT.
Sure. And if you have any questions, if somebody is feeling shy to ask it here, they can ask me personally, and I'll be happy to answer. Thank you. Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you, Manoj.
Bye.